Hello and welcome to Unity News TV in what is the first episode of a weekly segment where I'm just going to be rounding up the biggest news stories of the week, discussing what's been happening and putting it in plain English for you to pass on, share and digest. So, this week saw activists and local people continuing their battle to prevent fracking companies operating in the area of Mission in Nottinghamshire. An area, by the way, which is an old Ministry of Defence bombing range, so probably not the best idea to go aggressively digging into unsurveyed ground. But first, in case you're not sure what all the fuss is about, here's what we know about fracking so far. 600. That's the number of chemicals used in the fracking fluid, including known carcinogens and toxins such as lead, benzene, uranium, radium, methanol, mercury, hydrochloric acid, ethylene glycol and formaldehyde. Now, I'm no scientist, but that sounds like some serious shit, and certainly not something I'd want in my drinking water. And it just so happens that methane concentrations are 17 times higher in drinking water wells near fracking sites than in normal wells. And on top of all this, despite almost no coverage in the mainstream media, in 2015 the US Geological Survey confirmed that fracking actually causes earthquakes. And if you remember, back in 2011, we actually had two 1.5 magnitude earthquakes in Blackpool, in Lancashire of all places, immediately after Quadrilla had begun fracking in the area. What a coincidence. So, returning to the story, and you have to commend these activists for their ingenuity in fighting the fracking companies, and the local council for allowing them to operate. Because let's face it, it's clear whose side the authorities are on. This week their strategy was a slow walk. A group of activists got up bright and early, got to the site before the workers and proceeded to walk extra slow right in front of the trucks to prevent almost any work being done. Keep up the good work, guys. And remember, if you live in Nottinghamshire or anywhere else for that matter, talk to your local councillors and tell them you do not want fracking companies to operate in your area. Moving on then, and next up we have the pleasure of reading the tweets of one of the best goalkeepers the Premier League has ever seen. And it sounds like he's a pretty stand-up bloke too. I'm talking about Neville Southall, and his Twitter account was causing quite a stir in social media land this week. It seems like most of us, he's getting pretty sick and tired of austerity, and so he decided to tweet about it, very sarcastically, and it was hilarious too. One of them reads, Tories' new policy, save money on burial, make your nan's skeleton into a coffee table and turn your uncle into a lamp, saving the country money. But our favourite came just this week when he tweeted about a politician, saying, so, Hammond says people with disabilities are slowing down the economy and productivity. Have you ever seen Stephen Hawking? Light years ahead of Stoneface. Crawl back in your swamp, his chair's cleverer than you'll ever be. What an absolute legend. And I would say to famous people all across the country, if you disagree with what's happening in the country right now, you have a platform, you have listeners, people will support you. Use your platform. Just use it. It's invaluable. Next up, we have Dennis Skinner's political landmark. This week saw Dennis Skinner officially become the longest serving member of Parliament. And the Beast of Bolsover is one of the very few politicians I genuinely take my hat off to. He gave us Dodgy Dave and many other quotes, as well as one of my favourite videos, where he was being interviewed by the BBC last year, and the reporter instantly twisted what he'd said. And he responded, well, that was spinning, wasn't it? That was an example of spinning. You were trying to imply that I turned it down. And she said, oh, I was joking, it was just a joke. He said, I think it's time you got real. And you understood that you're not working for Murdoch and the BBC, because you seem to be following that pattern. What an absolute hero. Legend, Dennis. And hopefully you can begin training the new brand of politicians that we're going to start seeing coming into the Parliament over the next few years. And finally then, I've got a more serious story now. And we got a letter this week from Rob Galloway, an A&E consultant. Now, most of us know the NHS is in turmoil. It's been intentionally underfunded, mismanaged, and dodgy PFI deals initiated under Blair and continued under Tories have essentially bankrupted the NHS. But Rob Galloway, an A&E consultant, thinks the media are misleading the public about the seriousness of the issue. And this week, he issued a plea to all journalists to get the truth out to the people. Now, it's a little bit long, but I'd love to read it to you because, seriously, people need to hear this. So here goes. Dear journalists, as an A&E consultant, I'm writing to ask for your help. Up and down the country, Our A&E departments are in meltdown. Our staff are at breaking point, and we need your help. Patients are being left in corridors because there's no ward beds for them to go to. Staff are leaving shifts demoralised and exhausted, and most importantly, our patients are not getting the care they deserve. We need the public to know about this, not to scaremonger, but for the truth to be out there, as the only way to get politicians to change is by voters knowing the realities and prioritising the NHS at the ballot box. We need you to report the realities and not peddle the propaganda of the politicians. The crisis is much worse than you report. We all talk about the 4-hour targets and that we get around 90%, but that includes all the patients who don't need admission. For the ones that need admission, the percentage is so much lower than that. Why are you not asking for these figures? That would help reveal the truth. Why are you not asking for the figures of patients who stay in A&E for more than 12 hours? That would help reveal the truth. And what about asking how many patients are spending time in corridors? Because if you did start reporting these figures, you would soon see the true extent of the crisis. And it is a crisis, one which will lead to breaking point soon. And he ended up by saying, the fault does not lie with patients or with staff. The fault lies with the government. Years of austerity depriving NHS and councils of vital monies and investment is taking its toll. Please start reporting that. Please start reporting the truth. Please start reporting how close we are to breakdown, and please help get the public worked up about what is going on. Such an emotional and passionate statement from Rob, and it's clear to see just how bad the situation truly is in the NHS. So I thank you for that statement, Rob, and I appreciate you putting your neck on the line. Rob ended his letter by saying, and if you're not a journalist reading this, please share this publicly, or tweet it, or send it on to your friends in the hope that journalists will pick it up and start reporting the truth. And I think that's how I'd like to end this video. The first of many weekly roundups, I'm sure. If you enjoyed the video and you think your friends or family could benefit from hearing anything featured in it, then hit the like button, share it on any platform. Thank you for your time, keep up the good fight, and peace.